Hello, Colin.
Hi,
Hey,
Torie, how are you?
I'm
My,
very good. How are
am I
you?
next on the schedule? I seem to be not next on the schedule. I think there's somebody else ahead of me, is there?
No, you are.
Oh, okay.
Oh, unless I might have jumbled it up, but here we are. So, no, it's lovely to have you. How are things?
Very good. Excellent, yeah. Not
Good,
too bad.
good.
I'm at home here, so we're...
Home safe, how
Uh,
are you? Good. So, for everyone who doesn't know, Professor Colin Doherty, you're based in Dublin, correct?
yes, indeed.
Yes. And has done so many things. Do you know what I just realised? Looking at your profile, you used to work at St Vincent's, correct?
Yes, my early career. I
Yeah,
trained in
yeah.
St.
I've
Vincent's,
been a
yeah.
patient there, you see. So
Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah, very small world when it comes to epilepsy. But so yeah, if you could just give a brief overview of who you are and what you do to everybody, that would be great.
Yeah, so I'm a clinical neurologist with academic links to Trinity College in Dublin. So I work mainly at St. James's Hospital, which is probably the largest hospital in Ireland. So I'm the director of the epilepsy program there. So we have probably about 3,500 patients who come for their care to James's, and we have a team of about 12 professionals between nurses, doctors, scientists, health professionals. And yeah, so we've built that up from one. When I came about 13 years ago to James's, there was just myself. So it's really been a fantastic journey to get to this point.
Fantastic. And so what got you into epilepsy? Well, neurology first and then epilepsy.
Yeah, so well, I was always interested in neurology when I was in medical school, and I actually was initially interested in cognitive neurology. You know, thinking, memory, concentration, language,
Or lack thereof, yeah.
and I maintained an interest in that all the way through my career. But when I undertook subspecialty training, my boss at the time was a guy called Hugh Staunton, who would be sort of the father of really modern epileptology in Ireland. And Hugh really encouraged me to get into epilepsy. So that's been a bread and butter part of my life, and I've kind of maintained the interest in language and cognition alongside that. Yeah, so I did an initial research degree in brain imaging when I was in Beaumont Hospital, where Hugh was based, and then I moved to the United States in the year 1998. I spent 5 years there. I did basic neurology training and also epilepsy and cognition. And then I came back to Ireland to take up a post here in James's. So that's me, yeah. So I've been doing, I spent about a decade leading the national program for epilepsy in Ireland. So in Ireland, when the big financial collapse occurred in 2008, there were vast cuts, as you know. England suffered the same in health. And we had about a 30% reduction in our health bill during that period, which was about as bad as Greece had gotten. But actually, quite interestingly, the government decided to try and nurture certain areas of success. And we had a very close working relationship across epilepsy in Ireland. All the specialists know each other. It's relatively small, and we only have a population of about 4.5 million. And there's probably only about 10 epileptologists. So we're working very closely together. And so they actually gave us more resources, believe it or not, despite the cuts across the board. And with that, we developed a national program, which at the heart of that is an electronic record now. We have everyone's information digitally. We share it across.
That is amazing. That's what we all need on every island, on every continent, because having that easy access to data, which is relevant to each and every patient, is crucial, right?
Yeah, and actually, I suppose this pandemic has really brought that sharply into focus, because we were able to move to telehealth almost very seamlessly. We had no problem. We had already doing about 25% of our work was remote. And then we moved into this. So we're currently very excited by the fact that all of our colleagues now are coming to ask us how to do this.
I think you are.
Nobody was asking us.
You'd be like, well,
doctors are notoriously conservative. I think there's good things and bad things about that, you know. They tend to not to be rushing into new fads and new trends. And they like to see evidence, and they like to see scientific study. So that's all good. Yeah. But I've spent certainly the last 5 to 7 years publishing data on the use of these kind of tools, digital pathways, and trying to convince people that this is not only as good, but potentially a better way of managing a chronic condition. I mean, you as a person with epilepsy will attest to this. I mean, many people don't want to take a half day off, spend 2 or 3 hours waiting in a crowded waiting room. Certainly not now in the era of pandemic viruses.
Yeah, disregarding any anxiety issues, but yeah, especially now, yeah.
Yeah. And so one key aspect of that, I suppose, is the development of this really exciting thing called an e-portal, which allows the patient actually to access their own record. So now it's a real shared care process. The patient can add to their record as they go along. By the way, correct mistakes, which are frequent in medical records, as you know. And it's really kind of promotes then kind of a shared care self-management thing. So I'm very excited by this. I'm really, really hoping that we don't all see back into the old way of doing things.
Right. I think every country really needs to learn from that. I mean, I don't know if Ireland's the only one really going for it, but like you say, I mean, lots of us have, well, degrees of agoraphobia, for instance, and anxiety. Like you say, we don't want to waste a whole day traveling in, and being able to update our own stuff. Like I love my neurologist, she's amazing, PCF, but there were a couple of errors and I wish I could have just updated it myself. And also like not having to have bits of paper here, there and everywhere all the time. I mean, I'm lucky, I'm really like organized and well with some things, but loads of us aren't. And then with the whole memory issue, you know, so it's just great to just have it on your phone. I would say though, what about people who aren't IT literate? What happens then?
Yeah, no, so that's the most fascinating thing about this process. And I think you've noticed this with Zoom, this communication app, and there are various ones available. I've even learned in the last 3 weeks the sort of etiquette now, you know, that you use. Suddenly it's become a very usable tool, even for people who are previously not IT savvy. Older people who are cocooning, you just have to learn this process in order to keep in contact with their families. And all of a sudden, you know, huge swathes of people who hadn't considered themselves IT savvy, I suppose that term, are, you know, I mean, the way our system works, we don't actually use this process in the hospital. We use an encrypted video app called Red Eye.
More secure.
So what happens is that you get a text to your phone. And so long as you have a smartphone, you just click on the link and it opens up the video. So I think the portal does require a little bit more thought for a person in order to add to the record. If you're not used to updating electronic diaries, etc., there's a little bit of thinking there. But you know what, I've been amazed at actually the spread of people who want to use it and the spread of ages. You know, sometimes I think, oh, we're only going to have people, you know, in their 30s, 40s, 20s using this. But actually, we've had lots of people in their 50s and 60s very happy to get involved with the portal. It's more about the relationship with your disease, it seems to me, than actually the relationship to technology. You know, if you feel this is an important tool, then you learn it, and that's what happens. Actually,
that's a really, really good point, because loads of us will be, whether we admit it or not, in denial for a certain amount of a period of time. Many of us, not all of us, but lots of us. But once you're like, okay, I have dodgy OTT brain activity, I need to get on it, then yeah. And that's good for your mental health too. We've been discussing mental health today as well. So, okay, this is fantastic. So how are we going to make other countries, including the UK, do this?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that people are doing it already. I mean, and we're likely to be doing this for the rest of 2020. So what's important now, I think, is for the world of neurology and epilepsy in particular, and particularly people in your position and in the patient organizations, to really push their neurologists, say, look, this has worked. Yes, there's going to be people who say, well, it was fine. I didn't mind it too much. I didn't want to go to the hospital during that period and it worked okay. But there's actually I mean, I don't think there's ever 100% uptake of any piece of technology or any technique. But even if we had 50 to 60% of our patients who are stable, who know their clinician very well and just need regular updates, I think this would have a transformative effect on the health system, including freeing up lots of space in the hospital so that we can have urgent care places where we can actually see patients when we need to see them. So this is the biggest problem with the blockages, the human blockages in healthcare, is that there are definitely people who need to be seen, but you can't get them into the system because it's so blocked with routine work. We can shift that routine work, and I think that really needs to come from you guys. I'm certainly doing my bit. Any chance I can get, I talk to my colleagues about moving to this. This has been the biggest sort of experiment in digital care ever, and it was thrown upon us. And what's very important now is that we gather information from this So at the moment, for instance, we are doing a survey of all of our patients after they've had the telephone call to go through both the clinician and the patient to see, was this appropriate? Did you have the interaction that you hoped? Do they think it's as good or if not better than the interaction face-to-face? So that's all being collated now, and I hope other countries are doing that. And then by the end of the year, we should have a very clear picture that we shouldn't go back ever to the point where we were only ever seeing people face-to-face.
I agree. I think this is wonderful, and we should definitely continue this discussion afterwards, I think, because to get people excited about this, I think is good. Because it's cool. It's fun.
It's cool. It is cool. It is cool.
And, you know, fiddle with a new app.
We're down with the kids, as they say.
Okay, just leave it at that, mate. That's not cool.
Okay, maybe not.
Anyway, this has been lush. Thank you so much for your time. Now, what note do you want to leave this on? What's the message for everybody watching?
Well, I think the message...
contact you if they need to.
Okay, so the best probably place to find me and my work is on the Future Neuro website. It's www.futureneuro.ie, which is the research centre that I'm based in as a Trinity College PI in the Future Neuro Research Centre. And you'll find my work around e-health there. I'm also on Twitter as @Gasto. And you can email me at the hospital, CP Doherty Epilepsy at stjames.ie. So happy to hear from anybody if they have ideas. I'd love to, one of the big things, I'll leave you with this issue, Torie, and I think you may be somebody that I'm coming back to on this. What I want to really develop is the idea of patients designing services. That's the big next move, I think, in epilepsy care. It's not about all us epileptologists sitting in conference rooms and, you know, thrashing out ideas. It's about asking patients, what do you want and what do you need? And that sort of choice and engaging with patients on co-design. So that's where I leave it. Anybody who's interested in co-designing services, I'm here to talk.
Hear that, everyone? Sounds good, right? We have professionals who actually want to hear from patients.
Absolutely.
So if you want to call yourselves ourselves because they value our opinion, our experience, want to learn from that, right?
Absolutely. That's the only thing that matters in my view from now on.
Aww, he's too nice, isn't he? Right. Okay. Thank you. All right. I'll speak to you later. I'll send you a message. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Torie. Bye-bye.